Hello guys and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the quickest way to max out a Town Hall 10 base. Let's get into it. So before we get into the video, if you haven't already, go and check out my video on how to get the lowest war weight in Clan Wars. The stuff will be overlapped quite heavily in this, but the link will be down in the description if you haven't already seen it. So there's a lot of things you need to think about when you're trying to upgrade your town hall. What defences do you go for first? Do you choose troops or barracks? Do you go for heroes or troops? Do you do your walls, your defences? They're just some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. So let's kick it off with troop levels. The first thing you should be upgrading when you go to a new town hall should be your laboratory. No matter what, that should always be your first port of call. You always upgrade that first. The moment that that's upgraded, you want to keep this cooking. You want to constantly be having your laboratory busy with some kind of troop upgrade. Now, you ideally want to be looking for the kind of troops that are going to support you in war, because in wars, that's where you're going to make most of your money, especially in the higher ranks, like Town Hall 9 and above. If you're in a clan that does war a lot, they're going to make you a lot of money, and that's where your main source of income will come from if you're a busy person and struggle to get the time to do a lot of raids. So the first thing that you want to be doing is you want to be maxing out your troops. Now I personally max out the troops that I'm going to use in Clan Wars. For example, I've maxed out my Valks, I've maxed out my Witches, I've maxed out my Boulders and my Golems. They're the main things that I wanted to cover because they're the things that I'm going to use the most in Clan Wars. As you can see, my Wizards, once again, my Peckers, I've done one upgrade, just waiting to do the next one once my miners are finished. The second thing I want to talk about is defences. This links back to my other video that I mentioned earlier about the lower weight in wars. Ideally, you want to keep your war weight as low as possible, whilst at the same time having the highest level troops. This means that you'll come up against easier opponents, so when they're easier, you're able to 3-star them, but they will struggle to do so back to you. So, in order to do this, you want to be focusing on certain defences more so than others. As you can see, I've bought my Inferno Towers and I'm quite early on with doing it really. That is quite a big mistake when it comes to wars actually. The main things that you want to be focusing on are cannons, archer towers, mortars, etc. They're your low ranking defences. Those kind of things, they'll make a difference to your defence, they'll make it harder for your opponent to 3-star you, but it will have a little effect on your war weight. The things that you want to try and ignore are things like Inferno Towers and Expos, maybe hidden Teslas, air defense. They're the kind of defenses that will really boost you up in wars and make it a lot harder so you're coming up against harder opponents. If you want to have the easiest route possible, keep your defenses low, focus on getting your troops up, and then begin to bring your town hall up. Don't try and rush it. If you try and rush it, you'll only have a harder time later on. So, now we've covered troops and defences, the next thing I want to talk about is the barracks. What barracks do you go for first? Do you prioritise them over troops or defences, and so on? So I personally would prioritise my barracks above my defences first of all. The reason I do this is because, same again, if I can increase my attacks, then it means that I will come up against weaker players with stronger attacks from myself. Gives you that advantage over them. So realistically, that should be going hand in hand with your laboratory work. However, I would still focus on keeping your laboratory running at all times. If that means that you need to jump over to Dark Elixir troops in order to get those barracks up and running, by all means do it. But I would always try to keep that laboratory running. That's rule number 1. That's the golden rule. You need to keep that running if you want to stay competitive. The next thing I want to talk about is your heroes. Now, from Town Hall 9, Town Hall 8 even, and above, the next thing I want to talk about is the heroes. From Town Hall 8 and above, you should have the King available to you, and from Town Hall 9 and above, you should have your Queen available to you. These are going to be massive when it comes to attacks, massive, especially when you get to Town Hall 9 and 10 and you've got that Queen. Queen Walk is one of the most offensive plays that you can do, and it is amazing. I'll make another video on that later on though. for the time being, let's just focus on what you want to be doing here. Now, ideally, once again, you want to be keeping your laboratory running at all times. So if you're running an elixir upgrade, you should be focusing on getting that upgrade for your queen or your king, depending on your level. These, are, like I said, will become crucial to your attacks and even defences as well. Your queen, if you keep her close to the town hall, when it comes down to a close defence, she will be there, mixed with the clan castle troops, and that is what clutch defences you will get. The final thing that I want to talk about is walls. Now, a lot of people like to move on without upgrading their walls and so on. So, linking back to my other video once again, I did mention walls in that video, and I personally go up to the next town hall with my walls one level below max. Now, the reason I do this is because whilst I'm upgrading my troops, it gives me that time to spend my gold on something else, for example, my walls. So I spend a lot of my gold on walls, and my elixir goes straight into troops and barracks upgrades and so on. Let's do a quick recap. So first of all, you want to keep your laboratory running. That's the golden rule. At all times, your laboratory needs to be running. Then you want to be focusing on getting new troops. You want to get those new upgraded troops, get them in the laboratory cooking as soon as you can. Whilst you're doing that, you want to be upgrading your walls. Try and keep your walls to the highest level possible. And remember, when your walls are at a high level, it's only going to slow your opponent down. As a result, might even prevent them from getting the 3-star, even if they are a town hall above you. Defences. Now, your defences, they're the last things you want to upgrade. However, you want to try and do this as quickly and as organically as you can. So like I said, you want to be focusing on cannons, mortars, archer towers to start with. Keep your defences nice and low. Then you want to be moving on to the middle tier, things like wizard towers, your air sweepers. To be honest, I'd probably put air defence in the middle tier as well. And then finally, if you're of the certain level, then you want to be looking at expos, hidden Teslas, and then finally Inferno towers. They hold the biggest war weight. They will give you the harder opponents. If you're ready for that, by all means, get them. But if you want to grow organically, come up against easier opponents, do well in war, as a clan, you want to be focusing that they are the last things you get when upgrading your town hall level. Right guys, I think that's it. If there's any questions, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next videos. Peace!